guys, it's your girl Abriah Serenity, and I'm back at you with another prophetic dream. And the Lord gave me another dream about God-ordained spouses and these arranged marriages that he's pushing forward, okay? Now, in this dream, I was back in my childhood home, which was very weird and significant in a way. And I was in my childhood bedroom, which was also very significant. And I was laying in the bed with my God-ordained spouse, sitting there talking to my God-ordained spouse just about the day, just about things going on in our lives, just, laid up like married people be laid up. And all of a sudden, these people come to the house, like unexpected guests, authoritative like figures. And they come into the house, and immediately I get up out the bed and I close my door. Like, I close the door so that I cannot be seen with my God-ordained spouse. I didn't want them to see him. I didn't even want them to know, that he was there. I wasn't like fearful, but I was just really like, they don't need to know that he's in here. And so I get up and I close my door. I kind of like straighten myself up and I go out to speak to the people who came into the house. And so I go out in front of my door and I'm guarding this door, y'all. Like, I'm guarding this door. Like, I don't want them to see inside my room. I don't want them to be looking all up in my space. Like, I'm just keeping my door closed and standing in front of it. Like, y'all cannot get past this threshold. Talking to me like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, hey, how you doing? What you doing here? I didn't know you were coming. And just talking to them in a regular tone voice, like just trying to figure out what they doing here. And they started to get a little curious as to what was behind the door. Started asking questions. They like, why are you guarding your door like this? What's behind the door? Open the door. Let's see what's behind the door. And I'm like, no. Like, no, no, you don't need to see what's behind the door. And I'm like, it's just my room. It's some stuff in there. Y'all don't need to see it. Just really curious and would not let up about this door. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to hide him much longer. Like, I'm gonna have to put him in the closet. And so I go back into my room and I tell my God-ordained spouse, like, hey baby, I need you to get in the closet. I'm thinking he's gonna be upset. I'm thinking he's gonna be mad, but no, he wasn't mad. He totally understood. He wasn't scared. He just went into the closet and he was sitting in the closet, and I'm like, I'll be right back. And so I opened the door and I let people see inside, and I was like, look, there's nothing here. Like, it's just my room. Y'all can move around now. And eventually I snuck my God-ordained spouse out the back door. So immediately, the first thing I remember about that dream was me having to get up and close the door. One of the scriptures that the Lord led me to was Matthew 6 verses 6 through 7, where it says, but you, when you go pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And when you pray, do not use vain repetitions as the heathens do, for they think they will be heard for their many words. The Lord was ministering to me in that time, and he was letting me know that a lot of us are going to have to keep our unions private. A lot of us are going to have to keep our spouse, our union, in the secret place with the Lord, and we're going to have to constantly keep our union and our spouses covered. Me closing the door is me protecting my God-ordained spouse and my union from the public, protecting it from people from my past. I think it was really heavily insinuating that it was really more so from people of my past, because I was in my childhood home and the people who entered the home were familiar to me. Like, I knew who they were and they knew me. Did not know I was married, and yet they were still trying to be in my business. They were still trying to see what was going on behind the door. They were still trying to be invasive. Okay, so familiar spirits, monitoring spirits, operating behind people from your past, trying to be all up in your business. Okay, you're going to have to keep your God-ordained spouse a secret for a while, and it may not feel good. Your God-ordained spouse will be in on this. Like, they will know. Like, hence, which is why when I went into the room with my God-ordained spouse and told him to get into the closet, he was not upset. He was not fearful. He knew, he knew what was going on as well. So you guys are going to have to be very private about your union, very private about you guys even being together for a while. Lord specifically told me that my union would be private and that people wouldn't know about it for a while, even though people would know I was married, but they would not know who my God-ordained spouse is. So there was going to be a time where him and I came together, and he was going to be working on the both of us as a unit before he presented us to the public. It may be the case for some people, and these people are really going to be trying to pry into your life, especially when they see that there's somebody in your life. There's going to be people popping up from your past that you're kind of like, what are you doing here? Like, these people who came to the house, I didn't know they was coming. I didn't know they were coming to visit. Like, I would have, prepared, but I didn't know they unexpectedly came and tried to like just be all up in our business, was all up and through the house, monitoring, trying to figure out what was going on, just trying to see about me, you know what I'm saying, but was really trying to be in our business. I had to protect my marriage and my God-ordained spouse from familiar and monitoring spirits that were popping up unexpectedly. Also, another thing that stuck out was, us being in the bed, a sacred space, with me and my God-ordained spouse, where we were just talking and discussing private things, like things that we wouldn't want people to know, about our plans, about what we were getting ready to do. Shutting the doors, protecting those things, protecting those things from being heard by people that don't need to hear it. And the secret place is the closet. The closet was the secret place, the prayer closet, the place where he would be safe from monitoring spirits and people who were trying to see what was going on, people who would speak ill of him, people who would speak against our marriage or put us in the position where we would have to defend ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We avoided that, and we just went into the secret place and we guarded that. So Lord is really emphasizing that today some of us will really have to guard our unions against familiar spirits, people from your past, people in your family, from speaking ill on it. And we all know that life and death is in the tongue, right? You cannot allow people to speak down on your spouse. You shouldn't even want to be in cahoots with anybody who's speaking down on your spouse. And I'm saying really speaking down on their character, really deliberately saying, oh, this is a bad person. You shouldn't be with them. You need to go find better. You need to really saying things that could divide you against your spouse. Even if they have the best intentions, you kind of got to be yo, can't deal with that right now. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys are one flesh and you cannot allow the world to divide you, right? So the Lord is saying in this time, keep it private, keep it under wraps. We know that you're going to be excited. We know that you are going to want to share with the world that you finally came together. A part of you probably feels in your spirit like you got something to prove to the world because you've been talking about this for so long, and people kind of we want to see if she ended up being married. We want to see if he ended up meeting the girl that he was talking about all this time. We want to see. You don't have anything to prove. Okay, you have to just enjoy your spouse, enjoy this blessing that the Lord has given to you, and do not let anyone, invade your privacy, come in between you and your spouse. Let people who have spoken against your spouse in any way divide you too, or even be around you, or let them know what's going on. Keep it private, keep it discreet. Don't let them see what's behind the door. Let the Lord protect you both. Keep your spouse in the secret place, with your Heavenly Father, and keep them covered in prayer. Other part of this is that the Lord really wants you guys to know that when you come together, your living arrangement might not be ideal. You may have to live with some people for a time. You may have to go back home. You may have to go back to your childhood home to live there temporarily while the Lord is preparing your place that you will be permanently, where there will be some consistency, kind of not what you wanted to be as newlyweds. And you're going to kind of be trying to navigate that while trying to also keep your union private. It's going to be a really odd situation, but pray on it and take it back to the Lord. Don't receive it if it's not for you. Some of you guys are getting ready to come together with your God-ordained spouse. You're going to have to keep it private, and you're going to be going back to a familiar place where you'll be surrounded, or you'll be in contact with a lot of familiar people who know the both of you, and you're going to have to try to keep your union discreet and private while the Lord is working on you in this familiar place. So pray on it. Pray against monitoring, hindering spirits that may be trying to come in between you guys while you're figuring this out, while the Lord is working on the both of you, while you're newlywed and you're trying to get to the next place he has you going. The next interpretation about this dream, there's a flip side to this. There's two interpretations. The first part could just simply be, the first interpretation that I said. There's another interpretation that is about shame, and being embarrassed about your partner. Some of you may be getting ready to come together with someone that you love, but something in you is ashamed. Something in you is hiding them because you're ashamed of them, because there's something about you or them that kind of could just cause some controversy, hiding them from everyone in fear that they might see who, you know what I'm saying? You're afraid. You're kind of just no, you can't see this. I'm not proud of this, and the Lord doesn't want you to be ashamed of your spouse. The Lord doesn't want you to be embarrassed. The Lord doesn't want you to carry the burden of having to hide them for the sake of your reputation. You should feel blessed. You should feel relieved that this person is in your life. Do not allow the enemy to cause you to feel shame and embarrassment when it comes to this person, to the point where you're hiding them, to the point where you're trying to just keep all traces of them nowhere near you, because this is your husband or your wife. You cannot be embarrassed. You cannot be ashamed of them. You should honor them. You should respect and love them, and you should not try to hide them from people, so that you can keep it under wraps to spare yourself from embarrassment and shame. Okay, let nobody put you in the position to be ashamed or afraid of loving your God ordained spouse. Don't be afraid to love your God ordained spouse. You know what I'm saying? In the open, out in the open. If the Lord hasn't told you to be private, there's no reason why you should be hiding them. You need to be praying about that. You need to be praying to the Lord and saying, Lord, if there's something in me that's ashamed or embarrassed about being with this person, work with me, deal with me, get to the root of it, pluck it before they even come together with me, before it even gets to the point where we say, I don't want to carry any shame or any embarrassment that's going to keep me from loving them out loud, that's going to keep me from honoring them, that's going to keep me from respecting them in public, or being ashamed to put them, on my platform, or wherever the case may be. There's two things to that, but definitely do understand that a lot of you are going to have to keep your unions private. You're not going to be able to tell people that you got married. If they weren't at the ceremony, okay, they ain't gonna know. And your ceremony more than likely is going to be small and intimate. If they ever open their mouth to speak out against your spouse, like before you were married, they do not need to be at your wedding. They do not need to be a part of your bridal party. I don't care if it's your mother. I don't care if it's your sister. If they ever spoke a word against your God ordained spouse, they don't need to be present at your wedding when you get married. Okay, they don't need to bear witness to it. Like, they can hear about it, they'll see it eventually, but they do not need to be celebrating with you when they were talking down on the person that you're going to become one flesh with. And before you guys came together, like as friends, if you guys were friends and you had people around you who were speaking bad about them before you got married, they should not be in or at your wedding. Okay, the only people that should be in or at your wedding are people who are going to pray you through, people who are going to see you through, people who are going to show up for the both of you when times get hard, people who are going to try to push you together when you feel like you're separating, people who are going to keep you covered in prayer, people who are going to come to the house if something happens to one of you. You know what I'm saying? People who are going to really hold you up. That God ordained family, that kingdom family he's getting ready to give you guys as a union. If they spoke out against you, he should not be inviting them to the wedding. If they have any feelings towards you, like right now, the Lord probably is already doing it, but you need to be removing people in your life who gonna have something to say about your God ordained spouse. Like, even though they may not know who they are, you should know them well enough to know that they're gonna have something to say. And you should just be like, you gotta distance yourself a little bit, because when this person comes into my life, you're gonna be trying to put your 2 cents in about my man or my woman, and I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Okay, protect your unions, keep it private, keep it classy, keep it discreet, even though you may be sent back to a place that, is familiar to you. Do not have people in your business. Definitely pray about it. Take it back to the Lord and see if this is for you. Allow him to minister to you. Allow him to bring revelation to you. This might be confirmation for you already. And if it is, praise the Lord. But definitely be aware that you might be sent back to a familiar place. You might have to keep your God ordained spouse a private, discreet. Protect your marriage from familiar people, monitoring spirits, and people around you, and just allow the Lord to work on you before you present yourselves to the public. Also work on not being ashamed of your spouse. Work on not being afraid to love your spouse out loud. Deal with any insecurities within yourself that may cause you to want to hide your spouse. So take this back to the Lord. See if it's for you. My name is Abriah Serenity. I try to upload every Wednesday and Sunday, and I love you all with the love of the Lord, and I'll see you guys next time.